The Ten Commandments. Exodus 17:1-20:21. While the Israelites were journeying through the desert, they had great trouble from lack of water. Between the wells of Elim and Mount Sinai, they found no streams nor springs. Their sheep and men suffered from thirst, and the little children were crying for water. The people came to Moses, and said in great anger, "Give us water, or we shall die. Why have you brought us up from Egypt to kill us here in the desert?" And Moses called on God, and said, "Lord, what shall I do to this people? They are almost ready to stone me in their anger. How can I give them water?" Then God told Moses what to do, and this was what Moses did. He brought the people together before a great rock, and with his rod he struck the rock. Then out of the rock came forth a stream of water, which ran like a little river through the camp, and gave them plenty of water for themselves and for their flocks. While they were in camp around this rock at Rephidim, the wild people who had their homes in the desert, and were called the Amalekites, attacked the Israelites. They came down from the mountains and attacked them, while they were tired from marching, and killed some of the Israelites. Then Moses called out those of the people who were fit for war, and made a young man named Joshua their leader. And they fought a battle with the Amalekites. While they were fighting, Moses stood on a rock, where all could see him, and prayed the Lord God to help his people. His hands were stretched out toward heaven, and while Moses' hands were reaching upward, the Israelites were strong and drove back the enemy. But when Moses' arms fell down, then the enemy drove back the men of Israel. So Aaron, Moses' brother, and Hur, stood beside Moses, and held up his hands until the Israelites won the victory, and overcame the men of Amalek. In the 3rd month after the Israelites had left the land of Egypt, they came to a great mountain which rises straight up from the plain, so straight that one can walk up to it and touch it with his hand. This was Mount Sinai, and it was one of a group of mountains called Horeb, where Moses saw the burning bush, and heard God's voice. The Israelites made their camp in front of Mount Sinai, and stayed there for many days. And God said to Moses, "Let none of the people go up on the mount or come near to touch it. If even one of your cattle or sheep shall touch the mountain, it must be killed. This is a holy place, where God will show his glory." And a few days after this, the people heard the voice as of many trumpets sounding on the top of the mountain. They looked and saw that the mountain was covered with clouds and smoke, and lightnings were flashing from it, while the thunder rolled and crashed. And the mountain shook and trembled, as though an earthquake were tearing it in pieces. The people were filled with alarm. They came out of their tents, and ran back from the foot of the mountain, and stood far off, trembling with fear. Then God spoke in the hearing of all the people, as with a voice of thunder, and said, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery." And then God spoke to all the people the words of the 10 Commandments, which you may have heard before. The words God spoke are these. 1. You shall have no other gods before me. 2. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. 3. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. 4. Remember the Sabbath day, by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. 10. But the 7th day is a Sabbath, to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and made it holy. 5. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. 6. You shall not murder. 7. You shall not commit adultery. 8. You shall not steal. 9. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. 10. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. And all the people heard these words spoken by the Lord God, and they saw the mountain smoking, and the lightning flashing, and they were frightened. They said to Moses, "Let not God speak to us any more, for the sound of his voice will take away our lives. Let God speak to you, Moses, and you speak to us God's words." "Fear not," said Moses, "for God has come to you, to speak with you, that you may fear him, and do his will." And Moses drew near to the mountain, where the clouds and darkness and lightnings were. Then God called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up, and with him was his helper, the young man Joshua. Joshua stayed on the side of the mountain, but Moses went up alone to the top, among the clouds. And there Moses stayed upon the mountain, alone with God, for 40 days, talking with God, and listening to the words which God spoke to him, the laws for the people of Israel to obey. And God gave to Moses 2 flat tablets of stone, upon which God had written with his own hand the 10 Commandments.
Please like, share, or subscribe to our channel. Thank you,